Okay, so as we move into other rational numbers beyond integers, we're talking about fractions, decimals, both terminating and repeating decimals. Um, we will have the need to kind of go back and forth between the two different forms. So I'm going to tell you about how to go from a fraction to a decimal. And the reason why we want to do that is if we were to multiply fractions together, that's very easy. If we multiply decimals together, that's pretty straightforward. How do we multiply fractions and decimals together and that kind of thing? So the way we need to do that is to put them into the same format. Also, this will help with percentages later when we get into that. But fraction to decimal. How do I take something like 1/2? Okay, and I'll remind you that means 1 divided by 2. And how do I turn it into a decimal? Okay, so in this case it's less than 1, right? So it's going to be 0 point something, but we don't know what. Um, it's a pretty straightforward process. Okay, all you need to do is perform the division problem. Okay, so or 1 divided by 2. So we're going to go back to the basics of how to do long division. Okay, and we have our numerator in our fraction, right? Okay, that's the top number. We have our denominator. Okay, that's the one that's getting dominated by the numerator. It's number 1 up here. All right, that's on the bottom. Okay, and the way this works is if we're going to just do the straight long division house, we can think of this as like a little house. Okay, the top dog here, okay, the top number, he's the top dog, he gets to sleep inside the house. So we put the 1 in there. And the denominator, he's the bottom dog, he's got to sleep on the porch. Okay, and that's how we set that up. Okay, and then we just perform our division problem. So 2 goes into 1 how many times? Well, none. It doesn't go into 1. So I'm going to put that 0 there. Now we're getting to decimals. Once we've hit this sort of 0, I've got to start doing decimals and start adding the 0 here and begin doing it this way. This is a quick overview of how to do long division again. So 2 goes into 10, 5 times? Okay, we can double check that by doing 5 times 2 equals 10. Okay, 5 times 2 equals 10. We subtract these. I get 0, so I have no more remainders. We're completely terminated that decimal. So that's the end of the road there. So 1/2 is equal to 0.5. Okay. So we've able to go from fraction to decimal. Let's try a slightly longer one, just so that we can. And this works with any fraction, so I'm using 1/8, but I could do 2/8 or 3/8. Let's do 3/8 instead, just so that you can kind of get a feel for it a little more. Okay, top dog goes in the house. Okay, top dog, which is 3. Okay, that's the numerator. The denominator, or the bottom dog, has to go on the porch. Okay, 8 goes into 3. How many times? 0. So now we're in decimal category. So 0 point something. We can add the 0 and keep going. So 8 goes into 30. How many times? Well, I know 8 times 3 is 24. So 3 times 8 is, well, I already said it, 24. I can subtract 30 minus 24. I can do it the old school way, where we borrow, right? We turn this into 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 2 minus 2 is 0, so I just left with 6. Or I could have done it in my head, 30 minus 24. I know that there's only 6 away from 30. 24 is 6 away from 30, so 6. Well, does 8 go into 6? No, that's a good thing, because then our top number would have been wrong. So we're going to keep adding zeros. So 8 goes into 60 how many times? Well, I know 8 times 8 is 64. This is why multiplication facts are really good. 8 times 8 is 64, so it's halfway between those two, so I'm going to go with 7. Okay? 7 times 8 is 56. I subtract, I'm left with 4. 8 doesn't go into 4, so we're going to add another 0. Okay, and just keep going until we get to the very end. Well, 8 goes into 40 evenly. Yay, I know that one. That's a 5. Because 5 times 8 is 40. Okay, and I'm left with no remainders. I don't keep going. That's the end. So therefore, 3/8 is equivalent, okay, or equal to 0.375. Okay? All right, we'll do one last one, and it'll be kind of the opposite direction. What if we had, say, 8/3? Well, 8/3, we would just do the same thing that we did before. Okay, I'm going to just leave a little space here. I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Okay, top dog goes in the house. That's the 8. The bottom dog goes on the porch. That's a 3. 3 goes into 8 how many times? Well, it actually goes into 8 twice, right? And we're left with 6. So 8 minus 6 is 2. 3 goes into 2 how many times? Well, it doesn't. So now we're getting into decimals. Okay? So 2 point something. 3 goes into 20 how many times? Well, I know 3 times 7 is 21, so 3 times 6 is 18. So if you've got sort of an idea of where you're going, that usually helps. So 6 times 3 is 18. I subtract, I end up with 2 again. That's interesting. Well, if I've got 2 again, I know that if I just keep doing this, it's just going to go on forever. I go to 20, it goes in 6 times, and then I'm just in this repeating process, right? So we can turn that into a repeating decimal by putting the line over the top, and it's just, and if I were to even be more succinct, I would do 2.6 repeating. Okay, so now we've got our decimal. Okay, what about going the other direction? Okay, what if we go from a decimal to a fraction? Can we do that? We can. Okay, so if I took, say, 0.25, if I wanted to turn this into a fraction, okay, the simplest way is to put your number over, well, whatever this last place is, right? So if I'm in this is the tens place here, tenths, tenths place. This is the hundredths place, okay? And then if we kept going, that would be the thousandth, right? The 10,000th, all the way up, okay? Well, I just look at this place and I put this number over 100, okay? So 25 over 100. That is my decimal, and I can reduce. I mean, that's the fraction, but I can reduce this because I know that I can reduce this a bit because 25 goes into 25 and 25 goes into 100. 25 goes into 25 once, okay? So I know I can divide this by 25 and get 1. I can divide this by 25 and get 4, 1/4, okay? And if we were to reverse this and do the division, we would end up with 0.25 and go back and forth. Okay, so a bigger one, let's go back to our 1/8, our scenario, which was what? 0.375. 0.375. Again, we were at the tenths, hundredths, thousandths place. I would put this number over 1,000. Right? Because that's the place I went to. What if it's, say, 3.7? What do I do there? Again, I look at the I'm in the tenths place. I put this number over 10. Okay? 37 over 10. If it was 3.77, I go to the hundredths place and I put that number over 100. Okay, there's your fractions. And then if you can reduce, you try and reduce. Right, so there you go. That's how that's done. Remember, for fraction to decimal, it's as simple as going, just doing the division problem. Okay, going from decimal to fraction, you put that decimal over whatever place it's at. So if it's 100th place, you put it over 100. If it's at the 1000th place, whatever the last digit is, 1000th place, it goes over 1000. Okay, and you can ignore the decimal points at that point once you're putting it over that. Okay, so you can ignore this decimal point and just make it 37 over 10. Okay, there you go.